Hello everyone, in this video I'd like to share with you one cool website that I found in the internet. You can see the link here, Memochess.club or Memochess.club. It's actually a link. Yeah, this domain name is quite cool, .club. I've never seen it before. So I'll leave the link in the description as well. And yeah, they are not selling anything. I've never contacted them. I just think it's a cool website, and they so far have only 2 challenges here. I treat them as quite instructive tools. So one of them is here. They just give you 2 positions and you need to just compare them one to each other and click whether the positions are different or equal. So I think that was equal position and they gave me a score. So they give you 30 positions at one session. You just see if they're equal or not. Click those buttons. So let's say here you see that the queen is on d5, bishop on e5, and here it's vice versa. So they're different. And I think this kind of exercise, it might look easy and maybe not useful, but it helps you to delve into position faster than you would do it without training, and just understand the position. Like, it's very helpful in time trouble, in shorter time controls, to get the feeling of the position faster. And by doing this exercise, you can just train this ability. Now let's go home and try the challenge number 2. I think it's more interesting and even more useful. Here they give you one position and you need to tell whether white is worse or better in this position. So let's try to do a few examples here, so I will not ruin the fun of you doing it on your own in the future, like revealing all the answers here. But still, I'd like this video to be a bit instructive as well, so let's discuss it. So here we see the position, it's an endgame. Let's count the material. Black has 4 pawns and white has 4 pawns as well. So there is a knight against a bishop, and we have a bishop in a very open position where the game goes on 2 flanks, which is usually better for a bishop. So I think we can put our bishop on g3 now, protecting the f2 pawn, and then try collecting their pawns. Or maybe even better, we can try to take their pawns first and sacrifice our pawn on f2, and our bishop is going to be helpful even from b8, covering all those squares, so black will not likely promote their pawns, while our pawns are going to be unstoppable. So in this position, white is definitely better, and there is even a choice how to play in this position. As you can see, there is more safe move, bishop g3, or more sharp move when you go with b3 or king takes b7 immediately. I think king takes b7, b3 is just a nonsense actually. Okay, so I think white is better, and that was correct. Now let's see this position. Here let's count the material. The pawns are equal, everything is equal. But we can say that our king is quite vulnerable here. The bishop on b7 is looking, eyeing at it. The knight can jump to g3. So the queen is on b8, also looking at our king. This is quite a suspicious situation, and I think that's enough to claim that white is worse. That was correct. In this position, we're down a queen, although we have a very strong pawn on e6. And we can also grab the pawn on a5. And I'm not sure if that's enough. And I don't see a way how to promote that pawn, because the king or the queen are going to guarding it. So to me it looks like white is worse in this position. Let's try this option. Yeah, and that was correct. Okay, in this position we have the rook on g5 hanging for free, right? But we are also down a rook as well. If we take it, then we have an extra bishop. If it's black to move, it's a checkmate in one. So I think, I don't really know, but I think that in every position it's white to move. So I'm starting from that. So I think white is better here. That was correct. Now in this position we have, again, we see pawns. Looks like black has an extra pawn, or knight on d6 is quite unstable. And if it falls, then e4 pawn is falling. On the other hand, we have extra exchange, which means that I think we can leave that knight on d6, just trade it off. Then maybe collect some pawns on b6 or a5, and I think white is better here. That was correct as well. In this position we see that black has an extra pawn, the very centralized knight on d4, active rook on d3 going to collect our pawns, which says that white is worse here. Let's do a few more. In this position pawns are equal, but the material is equal. The king's safety, we see that both our kings are more or less safe. I would say that white's pieces are more active because the knight on b6 is just awful, has no squares to jump into. The bishop on b4 looks active, but it doesn't do anything useful. And once we go with, let's say, knight e4, the bishop will just be hitting the air and maybe will get even trapped. So the only good piece for black here is the knight on e7, which I think will jump to f5, but we can kind of ignore it. The bishop will retreat from e3 to f2. Maybe later we will start pushing our pawns because we have a really strong center here. And I think that's enough to claim that white is better in this position. Let's try it. Yeah, that was correct. And maybe, okay, let's do one more. So in this position, white has two extra pawns. The knight on f8 is passive. We also can play king c6, forcing the trade of the rooks, after which our pawn will be promoted. So I think white is better here. And okay, let's go to home. So I think this is a very interesting website and quite a good tool to learn. You can use it as a coach if you have some students, or you can use it on your own if you're an improver. And yeah, as I say, this one is quite helpful if you want to get trained in the grasping of the position, understanding it, like where the pieces are placed, even, I mean, understanding the board, seeing the board faster, delving into it. And the second one is already more understanding the chess pieces, like how they are placed and how you can evaluate the position. And evaluation of the position is a very important thing in chess. And if your position, I mean, depending on the position on the evaluation, you start building your plans. Let's say you see that your opponent's king is very weak, which means you can start the attack against it, and perhaps it will be successful. On the other hand, in the other position, you can see that his king is quite safe, but your opponent has a lot of weaknesses on the queen side, pawn weaknesses, let's say. Perhaps it's better to attack those weaknesses instead of going against the safe king, because that kind of attack perhaps will never work with the correct play of your opponent. So by evaluating the position, by judging it, you can create better plans in your games. And that's why it's important to train this skill. And hopefully this website will be helpful for you with that. You will get a chance to train your abilities here in a quite interactive form. And at the end even have chance to get into top leaderboard here on this website. Okay, so hopefully you liked it, was useful maybe, and see you in the next videos. Bye.